What would you do to stop a nuclear war? I'm sure we can all agree that a nuclear war would have devastating costs. Both President Kennedy and Soviet Premier Khrushchev agreed with this as well. That is why on August 30th, 1963, they established a direct telephone hotline between Washington, D.C. and Moscow, Russia. Today, I'll be sharing with you why this line was established, its effect on society at the time, and how it continues to impact society today. On October 16, 1962, an event called the Cuban Missile Crisis occurred. This event was caused by the placement of Russian missiles in Cuba, which could easily be on course to the US. Fortunately for us, President Kennedy and Premier Khrushchev were able to straighten out this misunderstanding and come to peace, avoiding possible war. However, the negotiation between the two heads of state was very inefficient, dragging the crisis on for an uncomfortable amount of time. This was all due to the method of communication they were using: telegrams. For that reason, August 30th, 1963, Kennedy and Khrushchev signed an agreement at the Geneva Conference establishing a direct telephone hotline between DC and Moscow. The first message sent through this hotline was, "The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog's back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Though this may sound like nonsense, this sentence includes every letter of the alphabet and every single-digit number on a computer. It's evident that this line was much needed at the time, but you may wonder, how big of an impact can one phone line possibly make? The success of this telephone line not only allowed the US and Russia to communicate effectively, but it also led to several other countries establishing direct lines among themselves, changing the world of communication between heads of state. These lines became preventative measures against nuclear war. They were the first of their kind, creating secure and efficient ways to relay critical messages during times of war, crisis, or tension. They eased the minds of world leaders around the globe because they could rest assured that a nuclear war would no longer happen out of miscommunication or confusion due to undependable methods of communication. In other words, these lines affected society by quickening response times and ultimately bringing about quicker resolutions between countries. Though monumental at the time, a direct telephone hotline nowadays may be expected. However, this specific line between the US and Russia continues to have lasting impacts even in 2024. The direct line has undergone many changes throughout the last 50 years. As technology grew and adapted, so did it. The hotline has remained in operation to be used by the heads of state to this day, having been updated with the latest, most efficient, and most secure technology. This line has not been forgotten or left in the past. This telephone hotline was a catalyst of direct and efficient communication between countries, which has made lasting impact on international affairs in the decades following. It creates much less room for assumption, miscommunication, and confusion during conflict and decisions between countries. Altogether, the establishment of the direct telephone hotline between DC and Moscow created a quicker form of negotiation to be used during war and began a new era of communication across the globe. Without this line, who knows how many wars would have occurred or lasted longer than necessary. Imagine one message through this direct line could stop a nuclear war.